Just how bad can things get for Bitcoin here, as several signals that we have been looking at over the past few days are starting to, well, confirm. And of course, Bitcoin does have a major event coming up later today. Well, not necessarily Bitcoin, but of course, traditional markets or the FOMC, the Fed, they get to speak, and CPI coming out as well. So likely a great excuse for markets to move. And as the old saying goes, or if the old saying is anything to be trusted in this case, show me the price and I'll tell you the news. I think we might be able to figure out what the news is likely to be here before it does indeed come out. However, I do want to be going over not just areas of interest in this case to the downside, but also what, if happened, what price, if met, would indicate that Bitcoin is in the clear, just ready to kind of continue on with this trudge sideways and up. But until that happens, have to be a little bit more on the defensive. Anyways, first things first, let's start it off with our daily statistics right in over here. I do want to point out that yesterday, Tuesday, did play out rather well in this case, and I do want to highlight just a use case that you can apply to this. I do understand that the price on the right-hand side is not visible, but that's okay. We don't really need it right now. For Tuesday, we do typically see an average loss of almost 3%, and Tuesday, as you already know, is the most likely day to be closing down negatively. And in this case, we certainly saw a downside closure, and Bitcoin did lose a little bit over 3%. So whenever you see a wick in this case that is, severely disconnected from where that average loss is, probably a scalping opportunity. And you can see that Bitcoin actually actually was like a hair below $66,000 on some exchanges and closing the day, decently above 67. So, not a bad scalping opportunity right there. However, Wednesday, today, is the most likely day to experience severe volatility for Bitcoin. It is the highest volatile day by a pretty good margin, followed by Tuesday, or actually followed by Friday, and then Tuesday. But to a much less degree. Actually, Friday and then Monday and Tuesday, I am just completely off the charts here. I've quit caffeine for like the last 9 or 10 days. I had a little bit yesterday, but I haven't had it for all of the rest of the 9 or 10 days, and I'm not really seeing any benefits at this point. It's not working too well. Anyways, Wednesday does have the highest positive returns for Bitcoin, despite being more or less a coin flip in terms of probability as to whether it's likely to close to the upside or the downside if we just look at Wednesdays beginning from 2024. So with that in mind, if Bitcoin were to play at the average here, that would be 376 for the gaining days, which if met would put Bitcoin basically back around $70,000. If you do see that, yes, Bitcoin's very likely in the clear, and maybe that was the extent of the pullback that we just saw there. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's ready to like green dildo its way back onto the heavens and beyond, but this would very likely just be looked at a very aggressive reaccumulation at a high level here. Fair enough, possible, but less probable. On the other side, for the average losses on Wednesday, we've seen an average loss of about 2%. I would say today it certainly has the possibility for that to be, maybe worse, just because it is, of course, an economic event day. So, that's typically, a lot of the time does lead into breakouts or breakdowns. But in this case, if we were to see the average play out, that'd put Bitcoin somewhere down around yesterday's wick low, maybe slightly lower than that. Just below $66,000. So do keep that in mind. Anyways, moving on from there, I do want to go back over a few of these signals that we have been looking at over the past few days here, because, well, the 2-day time frame bearish divergence signal did confirm that is connected with these slew of highs from early-ish April to the highs that Bitcoin's put in recently over this past week and a half. And that is not just present on the 2-day time frame. It's also present on the 3-day time frame here as well. This one technically not confirmed as of just yet. Will confirm not tonight, but tomorrow night. I would suspect that anything here or lower certainly will confirm that, obviously. And then that even bleeds into the 5-day and the weekly timeframes, which are experiencing potential for some phantom drives here. Phantom drives are just what we refer to as these sort of non-traditional RSI divergence drives, where we do see it kind of cut through, a different high. But we do typically see these play out in past iterations, but they're usually a lot less powerful. So if it does confirm, it's not like a death sentence usually. Like, you don't see big trend reversals on a signal like that. You see like kind of what we're thinking. Bitcoin pulls back and it generally gives an opportunity. So that begs the question of when and where, but we'll get to that a little bit later. I do want to follow up on this with just kind of a top-down view of the stochastic momentum pivots, because the daily time frame continues to the downside. Again, when you see this double derp right here, the double derp on bearish divergence, and in this case even supported by a DMI signal, those are typically pretty strong. And you can see that the pivot actually moved up from yesterday to today, which is now just below $72,000. So, downside more likely as long as Bitcoin's below there. And it's not just the daily time frame, it's also the 2-day time frame, which is actually crossing down freshly at the critical zone, $70,000 to pivot. Again, that does imply that if Bitcoin does pop back up above $70,000 and closes there on this next period, then hey, a little bit better. 5-day time frame, also in danger of crossing down here, which does basically close end of week, I think. Yes, same as the weekly, actually. In fact, these are literally the same chart almost. 5-day time frame showing the current pivot at 67,800. Or just about, which it is trading about $150 below that as of right now. Now, obviously, between now and Friday is a big time, but you can see that when you get all of these higher term time frames starting to agree with each other, daily, 2-day, 5-day, weekly, and probably the 3-day time frame as well, I'm going to guess. And if it's not, it's just the odd man out. Yeah, 68,500 is going to cross down, and it's about $1,000 below that. Again, closing tomorrow night. Have to be more defensive here. And this is all within the context of higher term time frame, very, very low volatility. So, I mean, technically this could be a very threatening move. I don't think it's going to end up being like that, just for the long term. Like, I don't think trend is going to be destroyed here, but there is potential for that for sure. Which, if things start to get pretty nasty, then we will have to consider, I'll have to consider. But for right now, I still don't think that that's like the most likely thing to be happening. Anyways, yes, moving on from there, I think the 5-day HPDR very easily summarizes kind of the current major pivot for Bitcoin. Any sort of a 5-day closure, basically the weekly closure, below, what is this median, 66,500. Yeah, you can get ready for a nice extension of this downside. Very, 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 very likely. Of course, we go back on over here, we can see that probably does match up, our Fibonacci retracements here do give some general guidelines as to, areas of interest to be looking for. Anywhere between the 50% level and the 618 would probably look fair game to me. And of course, Bitcoin's still resting at the 382 level here. You kind of have to give it a little bit of an excuse when it's doing something like that. But if Bitcoin was going to be bullish here, I think your big excuse was what I saw a lot of I can't even fucking speak. A lot of the pattern traders looking at, which was this ascending triangle right here. And in this case, it would already be broken anyway. So that is just not it, man. But starting to close below about 66,400, kind of yesterday's wick low on CME, not spot price action, but probably the same shit there in terms of just making a correlate between numbers. Well, probably looking somewhere between 64.5 to 62.5. Again, this is on CME, and there's a little bit of a premium over spot price action, so have to make some adjustments for that. But that would still be a higher low overall and would be a very, very nice opportunity. I mean, just kind of doing the old LARP lines right here and kind of visualizing that actually would look incredibly good long term if Bitcoin were to do that. But obviously, that's going to draw things out in terms of timing. I would imagine we'd probably just be looking at a generally very boring summer, which would readjust my own views into thinking that, the Bitcoin cycle goes on a little bit longer, probably into 2025. But fair enough, it is what it is. Anyways, I think I've hit just about, I think I've hit just about everything here. We went over what price today, on that economic news would essentially reverse. Reverse, which is basically $70,000 on a closing basis sometime this week. Until then, risk remains to the downside. Short-term bounce to the upside are probably just that. And breakdowns below 66,400 on CME, which would be relevant to what on spot price, basically $66,000. Again, on a closing basis, you can get ready for the next sort of multi-$1,000 leg down. So Yeah, I think that's a good place to be leaving off on this particular video. Again, lots happening in the next day, so this very likely does drive where we end off the week, which is going to very heavily drive of where Bitcoin is most likely to kind of land here. Do we see this pullback extend, what I would consider significantly more, or in the small event of hopium, is Bitcoin ready to go from here? Which again, I think is a lot less likely. But as always, need to have some area to confirm the unconfirmable. Anyways, I think it's a good place for me to be leaving off. I think, yes, I'd like to make an announcement again. Well, you already know the announcement. Still, the signups are open for the Krown School. The Krown School, is that the best? Is that the best name for the Krown School in the link description below? That will be closing in just over 2 weeks now, I do believe. So if you are interested in that, especially if you're a beginner and just looking to basically create some sort of a trading template, some sort of a strategy template for yourself, then perhaps that would be a good do for you. If you are extremely new, then might not be the best do, because we're not going to be talking about how to put in a long order today. No, that's not what we're fucking doing. Okay. There's plenty of other places to go to on the interwebs for stuff like that. That's not what we're going to be doing. But if you're interested in more like tactical things, tactical and tangible is what I want to be focusing on there. Then perhaps that could be of interest to you. Again, it is more beginner focused, but I'll let you be the decider of that, if it's relevant to your interests or not. Anyways, I'm gonna be signing off on that note. As always, I want to wish you the best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully tomorrow.